The stars stretched endlessly across the black sky as the small human ship, Aurora's Edge, glided silently into orbit around the unknown planet. Below, the surface glimmered like molten glass under a strange light, rivers of color flowing across forests of glowing plants. It was beautiful, dangerous, and utterly alien. Captain Elias Kane stood at the front of the bridge, his hands resting lightly on the railing, eyes scanning the view. He had faced many strange worlds in his time, but this one made even the most experienced crew uneasy. The planet was alive, almost breathing under the alien sky, and sensors kept picking up anomalies that defied explanation. "Captain, our readings are off the charts," said Lieutenant Mara Chen, her voice tense. "Magnetic fluctuations, rapid energy spikes. I don't know what to make of it." Elias turned, his calm eyes meeting hers. "Then we observe. We do not panic. We figure it out one step at a time." Mara swallowed. Most humans would have been nervous. Most beings from other worlds, particularly the nervous diplomats of the Zyrian Confederation, would have been panicking, preparing for evacuation at the first sign of danger. But Elias stood firm. His calmness was contagious, though subtle. It made the crew more confident than afraid. They touched down in a shallow clearing near a forest of tall, luminous trees. Their bark shimmered like liquid metal, and delicate vines floated mid-air as if suspended by invisible threads. Soft lights pulsed in time with a low, humming vibration that made the very air feel alive. The landing gear sank slightly into the soft ground, and the engines powered down with a gentle hum. The crew held their breath. This planet was alive. That much was clear, and yet there was no overt danger. Not yet. Elias activated the comms. "Everyone, suits on. Sensors up. Keep your eyes open. Stay calm." He stepped down first, boots crunching on the strange, glowing soil. The air smelled faintly sweet, almost like a mixture of honey and ozone. The forest around them shifted gently, as though it were observing their presence. 1,000 tiny lights danced across the leaves, moving in patterns that seemed deliberate. And then she appeared, Lyra Venth, a Zyrian scientist, tall and slender with iridescent skin that shifted colors in the light. Her eyes glowed faintly gold, betraying a curiosity that matched her nervousness. She had been assigned as an observer for this mission to watch the humans, especially this human captain. She approached cautiously, each step careful. "Captain Kane," she said, her voice smooth but tinged with concern. Why aren't you scared?" The words were simple. The question was profound. Elias turned to her, a small smile forming on his lips. "Because fear only helps if it guides your actions wisely. Panic accomplishes nothing. You must see the situation, understand it, and respond. That is all." Lyra tilted her head, studying him. In her culture, fear was always considered the proper response to the unknown. To see someone face it without hesitation, it was unsettling, almost impossible to comprehend. "Then, you are fearless?" she asked, voice quieter this time. "Not fearless," Elias replied. "Aware, curious, careful. I do not ignore danger, but I do not let it control me." Her gaze lingered on him, a mixture of fascination and disbelief. Curious, careful, that is human?" Elias nodded. "Yes, that is us. We face the unknown and learn from it, even when it is terrifying. That is how we survive." The forest rustled softly as if responding to their conversation. A cluster of floating lights moved closer, forming patterns in the air. One light broke away and hovered near Elias. He extended a hand and the light responded, circling around his fingers before darting back into the group. The crew gasped quietly. Mara whispered, It's alive." "It is," Elias said calmly. "And it is studying us just as we study it. That is why we move carefully but without fear." Lyra's eyes widened. She had studied many species in her life, and humans were different. Most sentient beings reacted to the unknown with fear or avoidance. Elias did not. That made him unique. That made him dangerous in ways she didn't fully understand yet. "Show me," she said abruptly. "Show me how you do it." Elias glanced at her. "Watch first. Learn the patterns. Listen to the signals." He stepped deeper into the glowing forest, moving slowly, deliberately. The ground beneath his boots hummed with energy, the lights shifting with his presence. Some vines reached out gently, brushing his arms without harm. Others glimmered like glass, hanging in the air like delicate sculptures. He stopped at a cluster of floating crystals, each one spinning in midair. The crystals emitted soft pulses like a heartbeat. The crew hesitated behind him, unsure whether it was safe to move closer. Elias extended his hand toward a crystal, but did not touch it. Instead, he observed it. Its movement slowed slightly in response to his presence. Then he moved another step, adjusting his approach. The crystal spun faster. He waited, observing its rhythm. Lyra's voice broke the silence. You are communicating with it. I am observing it, Elias corrected, understanding it. Respecting it. That is communication. We learn by seeing patterns and reacting wisely, not by forcing our will. A soft hum resonated through the clearing, almost like approval. The floating lights pulsed brighter, forming shapes that mimicked the human crew. Elias smiled. They recognize us. They are curious, too. They respond to calmness, not fear. Lyra stepped forward, her gaze still fixed on him. Humans, you face danger without trembling. Without panic? I face it with eyes open, Elias said simply. Fear without thought is useless. Thought without action is meaningless. We act with reason, courage, and curiosity. She was silent, studying him. For a moment she wondered if she had misjudged humans. If courage could truly exist without recklessness. If intelligence could coexist with fearlessness. The answer, she realized, was standing before her. The crew began to follow Elias, moving slowly through the glowing forest. They encountered more of the floating lights, strange plants that reacted to sound, and small creatures with translucent bodies that floated gracefully through the air. Each time Elias guided the crew calmly, pointing out patterns, suggesting careful observations, and demonstrating patience. Mara whispered to Lyra, He makes it look easy. I'm terrified, and yet I feel safer following him. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Yes, he does something no other species does. He turns fear into understanding. The sun, or whatever passed for it on this world, began to dip below the horizon, bathing the forest in a soft golden glow. Shadows stretched across the ground and new lights appeared, twinkling in the darkness like distant stars. Elias paused, surveying the clearing. We set up camp here for the night. Sensors active, perimeter checked. No sudden moves, no panic. Lyra nodded slowly. You are extraordinary. I have never seen a being face the unknown like you. Elias smiled, not arrogantly, but with quiet confidence. We are explorers. Curiosity is our strength. Courage is our guide. Fear is only a tool if you use it wisely. That is why I am not scared. Lyra's breath caught. It was not the answer she expected. Not the words themselves, but the truth behind them. Humans did not just survive. They understood, they adapted, and they inspired awe without even trying. That night, as the crew settled into their tents under the glowing trees, Lyra could not sleep. She remained outside, observing Elias as he quietly calibrated sensors and recorded observations. Every move was deliberate, careful, calm. There was no rush, no panic, no hesitation. She whispered to herself, How can a human be like this? Elias glanced at her without looking directly, as if sensing her curiosity. Because we choose to be, he said softly. Because we understand that the unknown is not to be feared, but to be learned from. Fear alone does not protect you. Knowledge does. Lyra's heart raced, not from fear, but from awe. In her world, no one had ever spoken or lived like this. And in that moment, she realized that humans were something remarkable. Something extraordinary. The planet hummed softly around them, alive in ways no one fully understood. But Elias Kane, human explorer, walked through it with steady steps, calm eyes, and a mind open to the wonders before him. The sun, or whatever passed for it on this strange world, was higher now, casting shifting colors across the glowing forest. Elias Kane stood at the edge of the clearing, studying the terrain with careful eyes. The crew had spent the night in uneasy rest, yet they awoke with renewed curiosity, thanks to his calm guidance. Lyra Venth followed silently, her gold-tinted eyes observing every move. The alien scientist was fascinated by Elias. She had watched many species adapt to new environments, but none with such composure and insight. Humans, she realized, were not driven solely by instinct. They combined courage, logic, and curiosity in ways that were almost alien in themselves. Captain, Marichan said, stepping up beside him. The energy readings are even stronger today. This forest. It's alive in ways I can't explain. Elias nodded without alarm. Then we learn from it. Take note of the patterns. Observe before reacting. Every movement here has meaning. The crew moved forward cautiously. The forest seemed to sense them. Trees bent slightly as if reaching out. Vines floated in intricate arcs, and small creatures with translucent wings darted between the glowing flora. The very ground pulsed underfoot, rhythmic and alive. Lyra's curiosity bubbled into words. "Do you feel any fear? Surely the forest could harm you?" Elias smiled lightly. "Fear is natural, but it does not control me. I use observation and reasoning. That is how we survive." Lyra shook her head. "No other species behaves like this. You do not panic. You do not flee. You adapt." They ventured deeper where the terrain shifted unpredictably. Floating rocks formed natural bridges over glowing chasms, and rivers of light flowed between trees, carrying strange, shimmering life forms. Sensors flickered and beeped erratically, warning of unstable energy fields. Most crew members hesitated. Elias paused, holding up his hand. "Step slowly. Watch the lights. See the patterns." He demonstrated by stepping carefully onto a floating rock. It moved slightly under his weight, but he adjusted instinctively, balancing perfectly. The crew followed, mirroring his methodical approach. Lyra frowned. "You are fearless. But more than that, you read the world differently." "Not different," Elias said calmly. "We pay attention. That is all." The path ahead narrowed. Vines hung low, swaying with invisible currents, and a wall of shimmering energy pulsed like a heartbeat. The crew hesitated, whispering concerns. Mara glanced at Elias. "Do we go forward?" Elias looked at her, steady and sure. "We go, carefully. Observe, then act. That is all." With deliberate steps, he led the crew through the energy wall. It hummed against their suits, but caused no harm. He paused on the other side, studying the space ahead. The clearing opened to reveal a grove of floating crystals, larger than any they had seen before. Each one spun slowly in the air, radiating soft, warm light. Lyra's breath caught. "They move as if alive. Can you feel it?" Elias extended a hand, hovering near a crystal without touching it. The crystal slowed its spin, responding to his presence. "They react to observation, not force. Calmness invites trust. Panic invites chaos." He moved from crystal to crystal, noting subtle shifts in patterns. Each adjustment brought more clarity. By watching and understanding, Elias mapped the movements of the grove without touching a single crystal. Lyra's gaze lingered on him. She had seen species interact with their environment in countless ways, but humans seemed to dance with it instead of confronting it. The crew, inspired, began to follow his lead. They watched. They moved carefully. They learned the rhythm of the living grove. Then, the challenge escalated. The ground trembled, a low vibration that ran through the floating crystals. The lights around them shifted faster, forming patterns too complex for any human mind to immediately understand. The air pulsed, warm and electric, and the trees leaned in closer as if testing their presence. Mara whispered, It's trying to scare us, or test us," Elias said. "Either way, we respond the same: observe, adjust, and act." Lyra stepped closer to him. You are not afraid. Not even now?" Elias shook his head. "I respect the unknown. I do not fear it. Fear alone teaches nothing. Understanding teaches everything." Lyra's gold eyes widened. Humans were strange. Fearless but careful. Brave but observant. Curious but disciplined. The floating crystals began to move more erratically, forming a maze of light and energy. Some crew members froze, unsure where to step. Elias assessed the situation. Each crystal's movement followed a pattern, though complex. By observing carefully, he began to predict the shifts. "This is not random," he said. "Every movement has a reason. Watch the rhythm. Follow the gaps." He stepped forward, moving deliberately, and the crystals adjusted around him. Mara followed his path, stepping where he stepped, and so did the others. The maze became navigable through calm observation and careful timing. Lyra's jaw almost dropped. You are solving it without touching anything." "You are dancing with it?" Elias smiled softly. "Not dancing, understanding. Fear would have made us run, stumble, or make mistakes. Observation makes us precise." The crew reached the center of the grove, where a single crystal floated higher than the rest, pulsing with steady energy. Elias extended a hand, and the crystal's light seemed to respond, softening and slowing. Lyra whispered, "You communicate with it." "Without words, without force, how?" "Respect," Elias said simply. We do not demand. We do not threaten. We observe. We adjust. We learn. That is enough. The grove seemed to shimmer with approval. The air vibrated softly, a gentle hum that resonated in their chests. The human crew felt an unusual sense of peace, a calm confidence in the midst of uncertainty. Lyra studied Elias with renewed intensity. No other species I have studied can do this. You turn fear into understanding, into action, into harmony. Elias glanced at her, calm as ever. That is what humans do. We face the unknown not to conquer it, but to learn from it. Fear alone is useless. Understanding is everything. Suddenly, one of the smaller crystals spun too close to Mara. She flinched instinctively, but Elias reached out, steadying her without touching the crystal. He guided her hand gently, and she adjusted her stance. The crystal responded, spinning away harmlessly. Lyra gasped softly. It listens to you, not with ears, but with perception. Your presence changes it. Everything responds to intention, Elias said. Calmness, focus, respect. Force alone does not move the world. Understanding does. Hours passed as they explored the grove. The crew learned to move with the crystals, to anticipate the energy patterns, and to respect the forest's living presence. Elias led every step, every pause, every adjustment. By the time the sun, or whatever it was, began to set, the crew felt a strange sense of mastery. Not domination, not control, but comprehension. They had faced the planet's challenge and adapted. They had learned. Lyra followed Elias to a small clearing as he began taking notes, recording observations. She looked at him in awe. Human, you are extraordinary. I have never seen a species do this, never. Elias glanced at her, smiling faintly. It is not extraordinary. It is human. We face challenges, we observe, we adapt. That is how we survive. That is how we thrive. Lyra shook her head slowly. No, it is more than survival. It is courage, it is understanding without fear. You do not just survive, you inspire. You teach by existing. Elias shrugged lightly. We all have the choice. Fear or understanding. Panic or observation. I choose understanding. That is all. For the first time, Lyra felt something close to awe and a spark of envy. In her world, caution ruled. Fear guided every action. Humans were something else entirely. They did not just survive the unknown. They danced with it, learned from it, and emerged wiser and stronger. The forest around them pulsed gently as night fell, lights twinkling like stars in the darkness. The crew set up camp, more confident than ever. Mara sat beside Elias, still marveling at his calm demeanor. Captain, how do you do it? She asked quietly. By remembering what matters, Elias said. Observation, respect, patience. Fear is only useful when it teaches you. Otherwise, it holds you back. Lyra watched him silently, the words echoing in her mind. For the first time, she understood the essence of humanity. Not just strength, not just survival, but the ability to face the unknown with courage, intelligence, and grace. The glowing forest had shifted overnight. By morning, the familiar paths had changed. Rivers of light winding in new directions, crystals hovering in altered patterns. It was as though the planet itself had moved in its sleep, rearranging its own features to test the human's adaptability. Elias Kane observed silently from the edge of the clearing. His crew gathered behind him, murmuring anxiously. Sensors flickered, picking up energy readings far beyond anything they had encountered. The air thrummed with vibrations that made their suits hum softly. Lyra Venth watched Elias closely. She had been with explorers and scientists from countless worlds, but never had she seen a being face the unknown with such calm. The humans reacted, adapted, and learned without fear. It was a concept alien to her, and yet she could not look away. Captain, Mara Chen whispered, the energy readings, they're increasing. The planet is responding, Elias nodded. It's aware. That much is clear. And it is testing us. That is all. Testing us? Lyra asked, her tone incredulous. You mean the planet is intelligent? Elias smiled faintly. It may not think like us, but it has awareness. It observes, reacts, and communicates through patterns. We need to understand it on its terms. The crew moved cautiously. The trees and crystals pulsed rhythmically, guiding them toward a large crystalline cavern at the center of the forest. The entrance shimmered in colors they could not name, light bending in strange ways as if alive. As they stepped inside, the cavern expanded beyond their imagination, The walls were lined with crystals that vibrated softly, casting prismatic reflections that danced across the floor. In the center, a massive crystal formation pulsed with a steady hypnotic rhythm, sending waves of energy that resonated deep in their chests. Mara shivered. It's beautiful, but overwhelming. Elias took a slow, steady breath. Observe. Do not react immediately. Every response matters. Lyra tilted her head. Every response matters? How human. Most species would freeze or panic. That is not productive, Elias said simply. Observation and calm action are always more useful. The crystal formation began to shift. Light patterns moved like flowing water, forming intricate symbols that resembled communication, but not in any language the humans knew. The vibrations intensified, resonating in the very air around them. Captain, what is it saying? Mara asked, voice trembling. Elias stepped forward slowly. He raised a hand, not to touch, but to gesture calmly. He observed the rhythm of the lights and vibrations, noting subtle changes in response to their movements. Slowly, deliberately, he matched their gestures with small adjustments in stance and movement. Lyra's eyes widened. You're communicating with it, without words. Observation, Elias said softly. For respect, adjustment, it listens to intention, not noise. Panic would make it react defensively. Calmness encourages trust. The crystal formation pulsed faster as if testing his patience. Small shards floated up around them, moving in complex, looping patterns. The crew froze, unsure of the correct response. Elias looked at each of them. Do not imitate, understand. Watch the patterns, predict, adjust calmly. He moved forward, stepping in sync with the energy pulses, never hesitating, never panicking. The shards responded, shifting to allow him passage through the center of the cavern. Mara and the rest followed, moving more confidently with every step, inspired by his composure. Lyra whispered almost to herself, Humans, they are extraordinary, not because of strength, but because of understanding. The core crystal pulsed brighter, sending a warm wave of energy that filled the cavern. Images flashed in the minds of the crew. Vast forests, alien cities, swirling galaxies. It was as if the planet were sharing knowledge, offering glimpses of its understanding of the universe. Elias did not recoil. He observed, processed, and interpreted. He pointed out patterns to the crew, helping them understand the energy flows and the rhythms of the planet. While the visions dazzled, they also provided insights, connections between energy, matter, and life, encoded in ways humans could grasp through observation and reasoning. Lyra was amazed. She had studied intelligent species for decades, but humans did not just survive the unknown. They interacted with it, learned from it, and adapted. It was not instinct alone, it was reasoning, intuition, and courage combined. The planet's communication intensified, now forming shapes that resembled familiar objects. A river, a mountain, a city, and then, surprisingly, beings that looked vaguely human. The images moved, flowing into one another, showing human-like figures interacting with alien worlds. Mara whispered, It's showing us possibilities, futures, Elias nodded. It wants to see if we understand. If we can adapt, learn, and respect it. That is the test. The crew moved closer to the central crystal, stepping carefully, observing every pulse and shift. Elias guided them, his calm presence a beacon in the surreal living space. Lyra stepped forward, unable to contain her curiosity. Captain, why aren't you afraid? This being, this planet, it could destroy you, yet you move as if nothing is wrong. Elias paused, looking at her. Because fear teaches nothing. Observation teaches everything. Panic blinds, calmness illuminates. We face the unknown not to dominate it, but to understand it. That is how humans survive and thrive. Lyra's gold eyes widened. She had studied species that relied on fear to guide survival. None approached the unknown like this. Elias did not just face it. He engaged with it, guided it, and learned from it. The planet pulsed in response, the energy flowing like a gentle current around them. It seemed pleased. Elias extended a hand toward the central crystal, not touching, but gesturing with calm intention. The crystal's light slowed, then flowed around his hand, wrapping him in soft, warm energy. The crew gasped. It recognizes you, Lyra whispered. Trust you, Elias smiled faintly. Trust is earned, not demanded. Calm observation, patience, respect, these are universal languages. Mara's voice was barely audible. I've never felt fear turn into understanding before. This is amazing. The crystal pulsed one final time, projecting a vision of a world beyond the planet, a starship, humans and aliens working together, exploring new worlds with harmony and respect. The vision faded, leaving the crew awed and thoughtful. Lyra's voice trembled slightly. Captain, humans, you face the unknown with courage, yes, but also wisdom. You do not conquer, you understand. You teach without words. You inspire without trying. Elias nodded. That is what humans do. We face challenges, we learn, and we adapt. Fear alone does not help. Understanding does. The cavern hummed gently, the crystal's light dimming as the planet seemed to settle. The humans had passed the first test, not with strength or aggression, but with observation, reasoning, and respect. Lyra stepped closer, a rare smile forming. I must study this. Humans, they are unlike anything I have ever known. They are extraordinary, not in what they can destroy, but in what they can understand. Elias looked at her calmly. And that is why we explore. To learn, to grow, to connect. Fear is temporary. Understanding lasts. The crew gathered, still in awe of the living, intelligent cavern. The humans had proven themselves not by dominating the planet, but by listening to it, adjusting to it, and respecting it. Lyra whispered again, almost to herself. I thought I understood courage. I was wrong. Humans redefine it. As they prepared to leave the cavern, Elias turned once more to the central crystal. We will return, and we will continue to learn. This planet is not an obstacle. It is a teacher. The humans stepped out into the glowing forest once more, their minds buzzing with the lessons they had learned. The forest pulsed gently as if nodding in approval. Lyra walked beside Elias, her admiration deeper than ever. Captain Kane, your answer before, why you are not scared. It is not just bravery, it is humanity, unique, unmatched, breathless. Elias glanced at her, the faintest smile on his lips. We all have the choice to be curious instead of fearful, to observe instead of panic. That is what makes us human, and it is enough to face the unknown. The forest hummed softly as they continued their journey, alive and aware, and Elias Kane, human explorer, walked forward with calm eyes, steady steps, and a mind open to the mysteries ahead, an embodiment of courage, wisdom, and the extraordinary spirit of humanity. The humans and Lyra entered the planet's deepest cavern, the place the sensors had marked as its core. The air here was thick with energy, pulsing in waves that made the very walls shimmer like liquid crystal. Every step felt like walking through the heartbeat of the planet itself. Elias Kane led the way, calm and steady, as the crew followed. Even after days of extraordinary experiences, nothing seemed to faze him. His calm presence steadied the team, giving them courage they didn't know they had. Lyra Venth, observing silently, could not contain her amazement. Her species had long studied human beings, but never had she witnessed behavior like this. Humans face the unknown with curiosity, logic, and courage, not fear. They adapted. They learned. They inspired. Captain, Mara whispered, her voice almost drowned by the soft hum of the cavern. Look at these readings. This energy, it's incredible. I've never seen anything like it. Elias nodded, his gaze on the glowing walls and floating crystalline formations. It's alive in ways beyond our understanding, but it's also communicating, showing us something. We need to pay attention. As they walked deeper, the cavern opened into a massive chamber. The walls glowed with intricate patterns of light, forming shapes and images that seemed to shift as they observed. In the center floated the planet's core crystal, enormous and radiant, surrounded by smaller crystals orbiting in precise, almost mechanical paths. The core pulsed gently, and the room vibrated with energy. The humans felt the resonance in their chests, a sensation both calming and exhilarating. Lyra stepped closer to Elias. Do you understand what it's trying to show us? Elias studied the shifting lights. Not fully, but I can sense meaning. It is sharing knowledge, showing possibilities. offering insight if we are patient and observant. He reached out, hand hovering near the core crystal without touching it. The crystal's light responded to his presence, forming images in the air. Stars, planets, swirling galaxies, and then life. Not just life as they knew it, but interconnected systems of worlds, civilizations, and creatures, all bound together in patterns of energy. The crystal's message was clear. Life is connected, understanding is key, and respect for the unknown is vital. Lyra's gold eyes widened. It's giving us knowledge. A vision of potential, but how can one human understand this? Elias smiled softly. We don't need to understand everything. We observe, we interpret, we act wisely. That is enough. The visions intensified. Scenes of civilizations thriving together, sharing knowledge and resources flashed across the chamber. Then darker images appeared. Conflict, fear, and destruction caused by misunderstanding. Mara gasped. It's showing us consequences. Of choices, of fear, and understanding, Elias nodded. Exactly. Fear blinds. Understanding illuminates. That is why we are here. To choose understanding, not fear. Lyra stepped closer, her voice trembling. Captain, why aren't you afraid? This power, it could overwhelm any being. Yet you face it, calmly. Elias looked at her, steady and serene. Because fear teaches nothing. Observation teaches everything. Panic blinds. Calmness guides. Humans face the unknown not to control it, but to learn from it. That is our strength. Lyra felt her chest tighten. Humans. They did not just survive, they thrived on challenges, uncertainty, and the unknown. Their courage was not recklessness. It was wisdom in action. The core crystal pulsed again, this time projecting a vision of a future. Humans and aliens working together, exploring the stars, sharing knowledge, understanding each other and learning from worlds far beyond their own. It's showing a future, Mara whispered. A possibility. If we choose understanding. Yes, Elias said. Every choice matters. Every action shapes the future. That is why we act with calm, curiosity, and respect. That is how humans survive and how we thrive. Lyra watched him, awe shining in her eyes. You are different. Humans. You turn fear into knowledge, chaos into insight. You inspire, simply by existing, Elias nodded. That is what humans do. We face challenges, we learn, we adapt. Fear alone does not guide us. Understanding does. The core crystal shifted again, showing not just civilizations, but the universe itself. Stars moved, planets aligned, life formed and evolved. It was as if the planet was revealing the interconnectedness of everything. Lyra felt overwhelmed, yet exhilarated. Humans, I've never seen a species like this. You face the unknown, and grow from it. You change the world simply by existing. Elias stepped closer to the floating crystal, hand extended but not touching. We are explorers. Curiosity is our strength. Courage is our guide. Respect and understanding are our tools. That is all we need. The planet pulsed in response, a soft wave of light washing over them. The humans felt it as warmth, reassurance, and encouragement. It was as if the planet itself recognized their intentions. Mara looked at Elias, awestruck. Captain, how do you remain so calm, so fearless? By focusing on what matters, Elias replied. Observation, patience, and understanding. Fear only guides mistakes. Knowledge guides decisions. That is why I am not afraid. Lyra's eyes glimmered. She had studied countless civilizations, yet she had never witnessed this combination of courage, intelligence, and humility. Humans were extraordinary, not because of strength, but because of perception, adaptability, and the ability to learn without fear. The core crystal pulsed again, sending out a gentle wave of energy that seemed to reach deep into their minds. Images of distant worlds, thriving species, and collaborative civilizations filled their vision. The message was clear. The universe was vast, full of potential, and understanding was the key to survival and growth. Elias turned to the crew. We have learned much, but we must also remember this knowledge is only useful if we act wisely. Understanding is not enough without application, Mara nodded. So do we take this knowledge and apply it, learn from it, grow? Yes, Elias said. That is what humans do. That is what we have always done. Curiosity drives us. Courage guides us. Understanding shapes us. That is our nature. Lyra stepped closer to him, her voice soft. Captain Kane, humans, you are extraordinary. Not because of strength, not because of power, but because of understanding, courage, wisdom. You leave me breathless, Elias smiled faintly. And that is enough. We do not need to be fearless. We need to be observant, patient, and curious. That is what makes us human. That is what allows us to face the unknown. The cavern pulsed gently as the humans absorbed the planet's message. The knowledge, the visions, the energy, all of it spoke of connection, understanding, and potential. Lyra realized something profound. Humans were not just another species. They were explorers, thinkers, and learners. They faced the unknown not with fear, but with curiosity and courage. They could adapt, understand, and inspire. For the first time, Lyra understood the essence of humanity. They were not just survivors, they were beacons of hope, capable of connecting worlds, understanding life in ways her species had never imagined, and shaping the future with courage and insight. The humans prepared to leave the core chamber, each step calm and deliberate. The planet's energy pulsed around them, a quiet affirmation of their intentions. Elias had guided them not with force, but with presence, observation, and understanding. As they exited, Lyra's gaze followed him. Captain, your answer before. Why you are not scared? It is not just bravery, it is humanity, unique, unmatched, breathless. Elias looked at her calmly. We all have the choice. Fear or understanding, panic or patience, observation or chaos. That is what humans choose. That is what allows us to thrive. The cavern hummed softly, lights dimming to a gentle glow. The humans and Lyra stepped back into the forest, carrying with them knowledge, insight, and a deeper understanding of both the planet and themselves. The humans and Lyra emerged from the planet's crystalline core, stepping into the forest that shimmered under the alien sun. The air was alive with soft energy pulses, the glowing trees swaying gently as though bowing in acknowledgement. Elias Kane led the way, calm and deliberate, as the crew followed, their minds buzzing with the knowledge and visions they had received. Lyra Venth walked beside Elias, her gold eyes still wide with awe. Captain, I cannot believe what I have witnessed, she said softly. Your species, humans. You do not just survive the unknown. You understand it. You grow from it. You inspire. Elias glanced at her, his expression steady. That is what we do. We observe, we learn, we adapt. Fear teaches nothing. Understanding teaches everything. That is enough to face any unknown. The crew moved cautiously through the glowing forest, noting the changes in the terrain since their arrival. Rivers of light had shifted paths. Floating rocks hovered in new formations, and the trees pulsed in rhythm with the planet's heartbeat. It was as though the planet itself was alive, aware of their presence and approving of their calm approach. Mara-Chen looked around in amazement. I never thought a planet could feel alive like this, and yet, with Captain Kane, we've learned to navigate it, understand it, and even communicate with it. Lyra nodded. Your species. It is extraordinary. I have studied civilizations that are older than humanity, but none face the unknown like this. None understand courage and curiosity in the same way. Elias smiled faintly. We do not claim to be better. We simply choose to face challenges with observation, patience, and respect. That is enough. They reached a wide clearing where the human ship Aurora's Edge awaited. Its engines hummed softly, ready for departure. The crew set up equipment to record the planet's energy patterns and document their discoveries. Lyra watched silently, marveling at the humans' composure. Captain Kane, she said, stepping closer, I have a question. Now that we have seen the planet's intelligence, its knowledge, and its potential, why aren't you scared? You have faced beings and forces beyond anything in your experience, yet you remain calm. Elias looked at her with a gentle smile. Because fear does not help. Observation helps. Understanding helps. Courage without knowledge is recklessness. Knowledge without courage is useless. Humans face the unknown with both, and that is why we thrive. Lyra's gaze softened. She realized that humans did not need to dominate or control the unknown. They simply engaged with it, learned from it, and respected it. That combination of bravery, intelligence, and empathy was unlike anything she had witnessed before. Mara approached, holding a datapad. Captain, the planet has shared vast knowledge. Energy patterns, environmental systems, even glimpses of interstellar life. If we share this, it could revolutionize exploration and cooperation across the galaxy. Elias nodded. Knowledge is only valuable if used wisely. We must share it with respect, not greed. We must teach understanding, not fear. That is how humans operate. Lyra's gold eyes glimmered. In my civilization, fear guides every decision. Caution dominates every choice. But humans inspire without trying. You face the unknown not as a threat, but as a lesson. It leaves me breathless. Elias gave a small, humble shrug. That is our nature. Observation, patience, curiosity, courage. Simple traits, yet powerful. That is enough to navigate the universe. As the crew prepared to board the ship, the planet pulsed gently, the energy waves brushing against their suits like a farewell embrace. The floating lights of the forest danced around them, shimmering in approval. The humans had earned the planet's trust not by force but by understanding. Lyra followed Elias to the ship's ramp, her mind racing. Captain Kane, I must return to my people. They need to know about humans, about your courage, your wisdom, your uniqueness. They must learn from you, Elias nodded. Then go. Tell them what you have seen. But remember, it is not about fearlessness alone. It is about observation, understanding, and respect. That is what makes humans extraordinary. Lyra's voice trembled with admiration. I will never forget this. Or you. The humans and Lyra boarded the ship. Elias checked the systems, his hands moving efficiently over the controls. The engines powered up, humming in harmony with the energy still flowing from the forest below. As Aurora's edge lifted off, the glowing trees and floating crystals faded beneath them, but the lessons they carried would remain forever. The planet had shared knowledge, yes, but more importantly, it had tested them, and they had passed with calmness, wisdom, and respect. Mara glanced at Elias, a smile breaking through her awe. Captain, we faced the unknown, and we thrived. I've never felt like this before. It's inspiring. Elias nodded, eyes steady on the stars ahead. That is what humans do. We face challenges, we learn, and we grow. Fear is temporary. Knowledge is lasting. Lyra looked out the viewport at the fading world below, her heart full of wonder. My civilization. They must learn from this. Humans, you're not just explorers. You are teachers, pioneers, examples of what courage and understanding can achieve. You leave me breathless, Captain Kane. Elias gave a small, modest smile. We do not seek admiration. We simply face the unknown. Curiosity guides us. Observation protects us. Respect sustains us. That is enough. The ship accelerated into space, the glowing planet shrinking behind them. Yet the lessons learned, the courage displayed, and the wisdom shared would echo far beyond this single journey. Lyra turned to Elias one final time. Your people, humans, they have a gift of understanding, courage, and intelligence. The galaxy must see it. The universe needs it. Elias' calm eyes met hers. Then tell them. Share what you have witnessed. And remember, facing the unknown is not about fearlessness alone. It is about understanding, patience, and respect. That is the true strength of humanity. As the stars stretched endlessly ahead, Aurora's edge sailed through space, carrying humans, their knowledge, and their lessons. A civilization known for courage, curiosity, and understanding was ready to shape the galaxy, not through domination, but through insight, connection, and wisdom. The crew settled into their routine, recording observations, analyzing energy patterns, and reflecting on the lessons from the planet. Mara looked at Elias with admiration. Captain, we've seen the unknown and survived it. But more than that, we've learned to understand it. You've shown us the strength of being human. Elias nodded. Understanding is the greatest strength of all. Knowledge is useless without courage to act on it. Fear is only useful when it teaches, not when it controls. That is humanity's gift. Lyra, seated quietly beside him, whispered again, almost to herself. Humans, extraordinary, fearless, and yet wise. You leave me breathless. Elias turned to her with a soft smile. Then carry that lesson back to your civilization. Let them know the potential of understanding, of courage, and of curiosity. That is the way forward for all who seek to explore the universe. As the ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, the planet disappeared behind them. But the lessons, the knowledge, and the inspiration remained. Humans had not only survived the unknown, they had understood it, adapted to it, and emerged stronger. Their courage was quiet, their wisdom profound, and their presence inspiring beyond measure. Lyra gazed at the stars, her thoughts consumed by humans. I thought I understood bravery. But humans, they redefine it. They do not just face the unknown, they grow from it. They teach without words. They inspire without trying, and I will never forget it. Elias watched the stars, calm as always, ready for the next unknown, the next adventure. Humans did not fear the universe, they embraced it. They observed, they adapted, and they learned. That was their nature. That was their strength. That was why, wherever the unknown stretched, humans could thrive. And as the ship sailed forward, leaving the alien world behind, Lyra realized that humans were not just explorers. They were beacons of hope, wisdom, and courage in a vast and mysterious universe. They had faced the unknown. They had learned. They had inspired. And in doing so, humanity left a mark not on the planet, but on the minds and hearts of those who witnessed them. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, full of challenges, mysteries, and wonders. But with humans among the explorers of the galaxy, the future was bright, full of curiosity, understanding, and courage.